Hi, this is Dan Smith of DPS Legal Counsel, and welcome to today's video episode and podcast of Legal Scrubs. Today I want to talk to doctors and dentists who, because they're licensed professionals, have a particular challenge, unique challenge, when it comes time for them to exit or have a business succession plan put in place to sell their practice. Because doctors and dentists are licensed professionals, it's necessary when they transition out of their practice, sell their practice, have an exit strategy for retiring, that they can sell only to another licensed professional. In other words, if you're a solo owner of a medical practice, you're a physician, you can only sell your practice and have someone who is also a physician take over your practice. Same thing with a dentist. If you are a licensed dentist and you're the sole owner of your dental practice, when it comes time for you to retire and reap the benefit of the value of your practice over your career, you're going to have to sell your practice to another licensed dentist. And so that's a unique challenge. It's not like a general retail business that can look to a large universe of potential buyers to sell their businesses. If you're a licensed professional and you're the sole owner of your practice, you're going to be limited to selling your practice to another licensed professional in your own profession. And so particularly with doctors, there's been a major trend in the last few years, last several years, of younger doctors, rather than going into private practice, taking employment positions with large healthcare companies or hospitals. And so the universe of potential buyers is even more limited for physicians. And so you have to kind of think ahead. You can't wait till the last minute if you're looking at doing some business succession planning for your practice. You can't wait until you're ready to retire and walk out the door and think you're going to be able to sell your practice, get a great price for it, and then ride off into the sunset and enjoy your time at the beach or on the golf course. You're going to need to start thinking ahead, probably 7 to 10 years prior to your expected time of retirement when you want to sell your practice. And so if you are a solo owner in your practice, you may have some younger professionals in your practice. If you're a medical have a medical practice, you're a doctor, you may have some younger doctors working in your practice. In a dentist office, you may have in your practice a number of younger dentists as well, even though you're the sole owner. If that's the case, you may look at the people who are within your own practice now as potential buyers of your practice and start that conversation with them if that's something you want to consider. If you are actually practicing solo yourself, you own the practice by yourself, and you're the sole professional in the practice, then you have another challenge. You're going to have to try to find someone who is a licensed professional like you to buy your practice. And you can either, one option is to maybe bring in someone into your practice over the course of several years, get them familiar with the practice, get familiar with them yourself, make sure you're comfortable with them, do your due diligence as they work in your practice, and then have them to be the expected purchaser of your practice when you retire. Of course, that conversation will have to be made with them over a course of time, and then you're going to have the correct legal documentation for any kind of agreement to sell the practice. But that's one option, is to bring in a younger professional or maybe several younger professionals to work with you in your practice prior to the time that you want to retire. Short of that, if you do practice alone, you're going to have to start looking around, having conversations with other professionals in your community or who are looking to relocate to your community to see if they would be interested in talking to you about buying your practice at some point. Either way, you want to start that conversation early. And as I said, don't wait until you're ready to walk out the door, because by then it's kind of too late to start the conversation. You need to be thinking about practice business succession for your medical or dental practice 7 to 10 years before you're really expecting to retire. If you do bring someone into your practice, you can provide some kind of an agreement with them that you would make an offer to them to buy the practice, and they would, at a certain price or a certain method for determining the value of the practice, with a certain payment mechanism. You may want to finance their practice with a note, or you may require them to get a bank loan. You may want to make, you're going to want to make sure that they're a good fit, so you don't want to just bring somebody in and obligate yourself necessarily at that point to selling the practice to them. You want to perhaps give them a probationary period while they're working there, maybe 2 or 3 years, to make sure it's a good fit. And make sure that your agreement provides that that you have certain protections in place, that you don't have to sell if it's to someone that's not a good fit. At the same time, you want to make sure you have someone who is a good fit, has agreed to actually purchase your practice. Because another problem would be is if you bring someone in, you're expecting they're going to be your purchaser, and then because your agreement is not properly worded, they are not obligated to purchase, and then you're ready to retire and they just leave and they walk away as well, and so you're kind of back to ground zero. So you need to be thinking ahead 7 to 10 years before you retire about your succession planning. You need to put the right kind of agreement in place to protect you, make sure it's the right fit for you, but also to protect you on the side of making sure that there is an obligated party there to buy your practice at the right time. All these things are issues that you need to start working on in advance, making sure you have the right agreements in place to protect you now and also protect you in the future when it comes time for you to sell your practice. I hope this helps. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. And again, this is Dan Smith at DPS Legal Counsel, and we'll see you next time on Legal Scrubs.